How's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Skyline Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jack Hartman, joined as always by my good friend, my co-host on the West Coast, Nick Normand. Nick, how you doing today?
Doing well today, Jack. Feel like we're in the fall now. I feel like it's been ushered in with like pumpkin season. I got my little tiny pumpkins and
Oh,
such
there you
around
go.
the apartment. Already carved a jack-o'-lantern and said jack-o'-lantern is already moldy. So we are early, but we are here, excited, happy to be chatting with you week out from Halloween, and just love the fall vibes that are upon us. You're rocking with the flannel. I'm here for it, but
It's
just
it's that
excited to
time of
be.
year here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got the short sleeves on, and I don't need much more than that, bro. We're chilling out here in California. But how are you doing, Jack?
Yeah, no, doing well. Yeah, it is. We are fully immersed in fall here in Pennsylvania. It is like not getting warmer than 55 degrees, like from for the foreseeable future. There was not here, but in different parts of Pennsylvania, there was some small snowfall over the night. So we're getting close, which is always fun. But yeah, no, doing well, doing well. Glad that we get to take some time here on in the middle of our days to to do this and to talk football. It's exciting. It's what we love to do, and we're obviously really happy that that we get to do this. So this last week, week 6 of the NFL season happened. No, week 7. It was week 7 of the NFL
It was
season.
week 7.
Um, yeah, and there's some interesting stuff that happened. Nick, let's talk. Let's hear a team that you're intrigued by what they did this last week.
So I'm intrigued with the Eagles. The passing game, of course, exploded. Jalen Hurts, 300-yard game. His exact passing numbers, let me just grab. He had 326 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interception. Perfect passing game, 158.3 rating. He was just able to dice up the Vikings, play efficiently, be able to score when they wanted to, just able to move the ball really well. Jalen Hurts, I think, playing the best passing game of his career potentially. He's been a really big game quarterback, played well in both Super Bowls, won one, lost one, but in the first one, he did have the fumble that was recovered for a touchdown. But outside of that, he played a magnificent game, throwing the deep ball, using his legs well. And this was a game that he was just able to throw the ball really well, able to throw it short, medium, and long well. Hit Devonta Smith on a deep ball really well. Also, got to give the Eagles defense some credit. Although they did allow 22 points, which is like average, medium amount of points in this game, they held the Vikings multiple times in the red zone. Their field goal kicker had to kick 5 field goals. So that's where 15 of the points came from for the Vikings, that they held them in the red zone down. They were able to be bend, not break, and just do a tremendous job against that Vikings offense that has a ton of answers. Aaron Jones now back. He wasn't back for this game, but he was back for Thursday Night Football last night. But between Mason, the running back, the tight end in Hawkinson, Addison and Jefferson and Naylor just have a ton of weapons there. And when you're able to hold those dudes in the red zone and be able to stop them from scoring, punching it in for touchdowns, you're going to be able to win a lot of games. Like that
For
team is
sure.
built on explosive downfield passing, and you're just able to stop them from converting those, which is massive. I will say I was a little bit concerned about the Eagles' offense in terms of third down efficiency would be a big thing for me, because there were just a lot of times that Jalen Hurts was just dumping it down on third down, where it would be like 3rd and 8, and he just dump it down to Barkley, and Barkley would get like 2 or 3 or 4. And that's just like third downs are really important to be able to dissect a defense. And
Mhm.
on third down, they went 3 for 10, which is not good. You want to be up above 50% on those. But they did go 2 for 3 on fourth down, which basically brings that up to 5 out of 10 more or less on third and fourth down, which is perfectly respectable. Like the Eagles offense did a good job, but that third down efficiency, I want some better third down passing out of Jalen Hurts. But his ability to throw on early downs and throw deep on early downs, finally utilizing A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, just that deep passing ability we know this offense has. Why is it that you can't be getting at least 70, 80 yards out of both of these receivers often? Like, these were both explosive performances, but you should never see a game where it's like A.J. Brown has 2 catches for 20 yards. Devonta Smith has 3 catches for 27 yards. Like, you just shouldn't be seeing those performances with these level of weapons, with an offensive line that can protect you, with a running game that hypothetically should be really good. But this offense was able to pass the ball well, able to dice up the Vikings, able to hold the Vikings down in the ways that you needed to. So very impressive job by the Eagles getting right. Am still worried about if you get another game where it's like A.J. Brown had 1 catch for 10 yards, and then A.J. Brown starts grumbling again, being like, oh, man, you need to pass me the ball more. Like, it does feel tenuous. But this game was the Steelers game from last year where they're just throwing the ball all over the place and looked really good, even though this game was closer.
I am concerned about the Eagles despite this win. I'm concerned because they gave Saquon Barkley the ball 18 times and he only had 44 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not like that was just this one game thing.
Mm-hmm.
That has been happening. And in terms of play calls, they had a very balanced attack. They threw the ball 23 times, they rushed the ball 23 times. So it's not like, he only had 44 yards because they only handed the ball to him, 9 times. Like, they're trying to get him going, and it's not happening. And it's not Saquon's fault. This offensive line, for whatever reason, is not run blocking well. And so, like, yes, they had a phenomenal game, this last week against the Vikings. The Vikings defense that was incredibly good last year has not looked the same this year. Devonta Smith had 183 yards, AJ Brown had 121. They made up basically that was the entire passing attack. It was 24. There were 24 other yards or 25 other yards that came from other individuals. And I mention all of that because if even on a day that they're throwing the ball really well, they still can't get the running game going. What does this offense look like on a day that, like, they haven't been able to literally all season get the running game going? They also play against a defense that can keep guys like Devonta Smith and AJ Brown in front of them. Like, what's that look like, right? Because I don't necessarily know that against, other playoff caliber teams in the NFC that this Eagles team can stack up. Like, I don't know that they'll be able to do what they did against Green Bay. I don't know that they'll be able to do what they did against Detroit because the best passing offense in the NFL this year so far, going into last week, was Tampa Bay, and Detroit with what they're calling the Legion of Whom, because no one has heard of any of those guys, which I think is awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely shut it down. So despite a win, I'm still concerned because if they can't get the running game going, like, when will they? And I felt it last year that they finally had success and that they won a Super Bowl because they finally had great running, a great running game with Saquon Barkley. Without it, I don't know that they can do it again this year.
I don't know that they're built to win a Super Bowl, but my philosophy would be with this Eagles team, if I was coaching this team, they have good backup running backs. They have A.J. Dillon, who's a big, thick power back, maybe not the most efficient yards per carry back, but also Tank Bigsby got a carry in that game, and it was 1 carry, 11 yards, which is really good. I wouldn't be opposed to if you just like started giving Saquon like 4 or 5 carries a game and just like feeding the ball to Dillon and feeding the ball to Bigsby just to keep Saquon really fresh and get his legs under him for later in the season. Just because I think Saquon just might be tired. He just had an incredible year last year and has not looked the same. And when you're playing later into the season, you're playing into February, you have a shorter off season. He just took so many carries, so many hits last year, even though he was running wide open in like the field of play last year, where he's hurdling over dudes and amazing and not taking the really heavy short hits. He was still getting hit really hard last year. And I think just like let him get his legs under him and rest those legs, I think, right now. Because you have other running backs who can play. It's not like it's Saquon and nobody this year, but they're still trying to feed Saquon. I
Yeah.
just think that potentially play more of the backup running backs. And if the pass game can be this level of pass game, the pass should open up the run. Whereas normally the Eagles run to open up the pass. I think they can pass to open up the run. I will also point out one other thing. The Chargers played this same Vikings defense that held Saquon down last week. And last night, the Chargers, Kamani Vidal ran for 117 yards on 5.5 yards a carry. And he's not Saquon Barkley, but he looked really good. And Saquon did not. And that is a concern. That makes me more worried about the O-line, like you said, but Saquon himself. And I think the run game coordination probably isn't very good. I just think that if you're able to predictably run the ball, even though you have a good offensive line and a good running back, you're just not going to have as much success if they know you're running it here, you're running it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's something that's really telling, I feel like, about this. Saquon Barkley's regular season stats and where they rank against the rest of the league. He has 113 carries this year. That is third in the NFL. So he has the third most carries of anybody running the football in the NFL. He has 369 yards. That's 23rd. That is a large separation from third in carries to 23rd in yards. If he was third in carries and 13th in yards, okay, but to drop off that far is really significant. 3 touchdowns is tied for 18th. His average of 3.3 yards per carry, I don't even know what the actual number is because it just says 150 plus on ESPN. Like, you look at his game by game splits, the most rushing yards he has in a game this year is 88 against Kansas City on 22 carries. The next highest is 60 against Dallas. Other than that, he's gone over 60 one time, and that was that game against the Chiefs. Everything else, it's been below 60 rushing yards. Again, like, that is, I think you're right that there might be some truth to, okay, how good is Saquon feeling? But also, if you've got a guy like Saquon, like, you got to figure out what the offensive line is not doing. I think clearly they're missing Mekhi Becton, right? Like, I mean, you lose a guy like that on your offensive line,
Mm-hmm.
that'll affect your run game. So I say all of that and I bring all of that up because despite them winning, yes, I'm actually still concerned about them. They started 4-0 and then they lost two straight, and it was like, oh, are the Vikings, is it just earlier than it was in 2022, but are they falling victim to that again? And even though they beat the Vikings, again, we saw what we saw of the Vikings last night on Thursday Night Football against the Chargers. Like, a win over the Vikings, even on the road, does not bear much weight to me, especially if you're a team like the Eagles that you're the reigning Super Bowl champs, you have back-to-back aspirations. That win doesn't bear a ton of weight, and also when you actually sort of dig through the weeds of the game, it's like, ooh, this is actually more concerning than you think.
Right. It's not a 2 thumbs up 10 out of 10 win, but it's the passing game I was worried about and the defense I was worried about. And the defense got 2 great interceptions and a fumble recovery. And one of the interceptions was a pick six where it was schemed perfectly, having an edge rusher drop right into the window of Justin Jefferson, picking it off, looking really good. And so I think the defense being timely and being really good bend not break was something where we can be worried about the defense not being able to do those things. And so the passing game and the defense that I was worried about definitely did a better job about those things.
Mhm.
But there are obviously still concerns here. It is intriguing. I think this team's intriguing. Maybe not great, but intriguing.
Sure. Sure. Team that I am impressed with, I am ready to say, I am ready to say, their resume, their body of work has spoken enough to me so far that in this moment I am ready to say that the Colts are the team to beat in the AFC. Through 7 weeks, the Indianapolis Colts, led by Danny Dimes of all people, is in my opinion the team to beat in the AFC. They looked better than good against the Chargers this last week. Like they did. They went on the road. They went to LA playing in SoFi. They scored 38 points. Again, we just saw the Chargers last night, right? The Chargers only gave up 10 points to the Vikings. Um and the offense just looks good, man. Like it just does, and it's unorthodox. It's not flashy. Daniel Jones is not doing anything flashy. He's doing what we saw of him the year that the Giants won a playoff game with him and Saquon Barkley before the Giants paid him. It was like, hey, he is good enough that as long as he avoids the turnovers, he can make the other stuff just kind of happen, right? In this game, he threw for 288 yards and two touchdowns. It's not super flashy, but he did it. He didn't turn the ball over. And also, I think we need to start putting way more respect on Jonathan Taylor's name this year. We were just
Mm.
talking about Saquon Barkley splits. Jonathan Taylor, 131 carries, that's second in the NFL. 697 yards is first. 10 touchdowns is first. He's having a year this year like Saquon had last year. Um, Obviously yards wise it's he's not on pace to crack 2000, but he's efficient, that's for sure. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry, and that ranks 57th, but most like every down backs are down that low, right? You've got a guy that scampers for an 11-yard. Tank Bigsby had one carry for 11 yards. If he's averaging 11 yards per carry, he's going to be calculated in that, right? It's not like, oh, well, you need to have carried the ball this many times. But I digress. He's looking really good. Daniel Jones is spreading the ball around. There were 8 receivers that caught passes this week, and it was really balanced. Alec Pierce, 5 catches, 98 yards. Tyler Warren, 4 catches, 69 yards. Michael Pittman, 7 catches, 58 yards. Jonathan Taylor, 3 catches, 38 yards. And then you have Amir Abdullah, A.D. Mitchell, Mo Alley Cox, and Anthony Gould, who all had one. But still, he's finding guys, right? Like he's not just like, if Michael Pittman isn't open, we are absolutely screwed. I'm toast, and I'm throwing the ball up towards him, and hopefully it doesn't get picked. Like he's doing it, and he's doing it really well. The defense has played really, really well. Um, they gave up a lot of yards to Justin Herbert, that's for sure. They gave up 420 passing yards to Justin Herbert, but at halftime the score was 23-3, and the Chargers had to just throw the ball over and over and over again. What I think is more telling, though, is that as a team, Los Angeles had 16 carries for only 54 yards. Like Indianapolis just swallowed them up. They forced Herbert to throw two picks. They're playing really, really good ball. And we've seen it, all season with, started off with a big win against the Dolphins. Not big because it was the Dolphins, but big because of how they did it. They were dominant in that game. Then they beat the Broncos, then they beat the Titans by 21 points. They lose to the Rams on the road by a touchdown. And it was like, okay, slow the brakes. But then they followed that up with a rout of the Raiders. They beat the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are a better team than their record shows. I'm not. Are
Okay.
Why are you making that face?
Well, what's their record? Three
They're
and four, something like
they're
that.
they're 2-4.
2 and 4.
They have a loss by 1 point to the 49ers, a loss by 3 points to the Seahawks, a loss by 1 point to the Titans, and a loss by 4 points to the Colts, and a loss by 4 points to the Packers. They like all of those games they've lost have been within a touchdown. That's all I'm saying. They're a
Sure.
pesky out. They're not I'm
Sure.
not saying that
Yes, they
like
are a
they're
pesky out. I will give you
right,
that
right.
100%. They're
I'm
not
not
a dregs of the league. They are not the Dolphins. They are not the Bengals
no,
without Burrow, hypothetically, or the
right.
Ravens without Lamar. No, they're not that.
Right. They have a record. I'm saying they have a record that's emblematic of those teams, but they're
Sure.
better than that, right? They're like right now they're like the opposite of the Chiefs team that won like 11 one-score games last year. Like, you know,
Kinda yes.
um yeah.
I'll give you that.
So
That they're at
so
least close.
I say that to mean that a win over the Cardinals 31-27 is not the same as a win over the Raiders 31-27, right? Like that's a good win. And then
Yeah.
here they beat the Chargers by 2 touchdowns on the road.
Mhm.
They just look good. I'm bought in, right now. Like yes, don't get me wrong, and I know what you're gonna say is like, well, the Chiefs are looking way better. They are, but like just because the Colts aren't doing it flashy like the Chiefs tend to do doesn't mean that they're not so good.
Mhm. I hear you there, and I think you make a lot of good points. I think this offense is operating at a high level because the offensive line's playing great, because Daniel Jones is spreading the ball around, because Shane Steichen is an incredible offensive play caller, because they have a variety of weapons. And one other note that just really stands out to me, I'm bringing up their schedule, and it is not the fact that they have played a weaker schedule, which they have played a weaker schedule, but that's not my gripe about it. If we look at the games that they've played thus far, we have at home against the Dolphins, at home against the Broncos, in Tennessee against the Titans, in LA against the Rams, at home against the Raiders, at home against the Cardinals, in LA against the Chargers. What all of those games have in common to me is that they are all either warm weather or in a dome. If not all in a dome, I think. I think Tennessee might not be a dome.
No, they're
I
not.
I might be worried if I'm watching this Colts team and rooting for them that a winter January game at Arrowhead, a winter game in Buffalo, that even though they have a big, strong offensive line and even though they have Jonathan Taylor, that the efficiency and the surgicality of this offense of dudes getting open, that in the snow, in the cold, in the rain would get bogged down, where this offense is working at a historical pace. And I think if anybody looked at this team before the season and was like, I think this team is going to be whatever we thought it was not going to be a historical offense. And I think January offense is just harder to come by than October, September offense. And so that would be my main concern, that like if you look at this schedule coming down the pipe, you have in Seattle December 14th, and you have November 23rd against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I think that Chiefs game in Arrowhead is going to be a massive swing game that could potentially decide the number one seed. Like right now, the AFC is wide open in a way that you might say the Colts are making it not wide open. But the Chiefs are coming on, and the Colts, I don't think we expect to win every game on their schedule after this and go 1-6 or 16-1. Like, I just don't think we expect teams to go that crazy. But man, I think that could be a big game, and I think that could be a swing game. We're playing that in Indianapolis versus in Kansas City in the playoffs would be a massive swing between these teams potentially.
Sure. Two things on that. As a Lions fan, I hear all the time about the indoors thing, and
Mhm.
I think it's overblown. Like
Mhm.
because I mean, and that's what everyone was talking about with the Lions, and then they
Mhm.
went and they played in a gross 40-degree rainy game in Lambeau last year, and they looked great, and then they also played,
Mhm.
Chicago and in the cold
Mhm.
weather, and did it too. That said, we haven't seen this Colts team do it yet, so
Mhm.
we'll see.
Mhm.
Um, on that game against the Chiefs, I think there's a good chance that the Colts are 9-1 going into Arrowhead. They
Mhm.
play the Titans, they play your Steelers, which man, the Steelers are Jekyll and Hyde as it feels like they always are.
Mhm.
And then
The
they,
offense is okay. The offense is okay.
well, sure, but the team as a whole,
Defense, ugh.
you know, and then they play the Falcons in Berlin.
Mhm.
And I think there's absolutely a chance that they're 9-1 going into that game at Arrowhead.
Mhm.
Um, which could, depending on what happens with the Chiefs over their next few games, could mean that the Chiefs need to win that game to keep the 1 seed in reach,
Mm-hmm.
because their games before that, they host the Commanders without Jaden Daniels this week. They'll probably win that.
They win.
Then they go to Buffalo, and then they go to Denver. There's a chance that the Chiefs are actually in a place where they need to win that game to keep it in reach. And if Indianapolis
Mhm.
wins it, they sort of shut the door, at least on the Chiefs, to chase them down, which
Which will
would
be
be
nuts to
wild.
say. That will
Would
be
be
nuts to be
wild.
like the Colts shut down the Chiefs.
Yeah,
And also, there's the storyline of Lou Anarumo in that defense, where Lou Anarumo has been the dude who figured out Patrick Mahomes when he was the DC of the Bengals.
hmm
Man, that would be really interesting to see what this Lou Anarumo defense with the Colts does against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs now. That would be
sure.
really intriguing for me as well.
Yeah, if Lou Anarumo was able to beat Mahomes with the talent, and by talent I mean no talent on the Bengals defenses those years,
There
imagine
wasn't
what he could do. There was some talent. Like
Trey Hendrickson, Jesse Bates, the linebackers, the defensive tackle. I think those are some underrated Bengals defenses, to be
I
honest.
agree, but also I think that this current Colts defense is better than
They're
them.
good.
So
They're good.
so anyway, all right, Nick. You wanted to talk about the Raiders. I don't know
Yes.
why. I'd rather light a couch on fire, but let's do it. Let's talk about the
Yes.
Raiders.
I am about to drop some facts, some stats that I pulled that are some abject hateration, the likes of which you have never seen.
Ugh.
First off, anybody who has not seen what went on with this game with the Raiders Chiefs, just first downs. The Chiefs had 30 for the game. The Raiders had 3. That is the fewest number of first downs in at least the last 5 years. The Raiders' possessions throughout the entire game, this is the entire game, went punt, 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 got the ball back after a Chiefs touchdown, had the ball for 20 seconds, ran the ball once for 5 yards, end of half. Second half, punt, incomplete pass on a 4th down, so they turned it over on downs on a 4th and 3. Punt, Kenny Pickett comes in for Geno Smith, fumbles immediately on the first play and loses it, punt, and then the end of the game on another run for like 6 yards. That was the entire game for the Raiders. Their offense was that inept where they literally did nothing the entire game. They didn't even turn it over that much. They had the 1 turnover on downs in the Kenny Pickett fumble, but it's not like it was a 4 turnover game, a 5 turnover game where they're just turning it over all the time. Other stats that I have for you. The Raiders netted 52 total yards of offense after penalties and everything. They had the ball 10 times, including the ends of half. That means per every possession, they moved the ball 5.2 yards on average per drive. So they got the ball, moved it 5.2 yards, and then that's it. That's the entire possession. The 3 first downs they had, 2 passing, 1 from penalty. One of those passing first downs was in the start of the 4th quarter, when at the end of the 3rd quarter, the Chiefs were up 31-0 and just pulled everybody and didn't care. So they had 1 first down from non-penalty the entire game previously when it was still somewhat competitive. Other stuff I got for you. The Raiders went to combined 0 for 8 on 3rd and 4th down. They didn't convert a single 3rd or 4th down. 0 for 1 on 4th, 0 for 7 on 3rd down. They just didn't do a damn thing. To put in context how bad the Raiders offense was, think about that Falcons game this year that the Falcons lost 30-0 to the Panthers. The Falcons had 17 first downs that game, went 5 for 13 on 3rd down. They also missed 2 field goals, so they should have had 6 points automatically off those field goals that the Raiders didn't even have a chance to score field goals. They also had 4 drives over 40 yards. The Raiders' longest drive was 26 yards. Now to put in context, another terrible game, another 0 for game this year. The Titans played against Houston. Houston's a great defense. The Titans lost 26-0 to Houston. The Titans had 10 first downs and went 2 for 12 on 3rd and 4th down. 2 for 12 is terrible, but they didn't go 0 for at least, and at least had shots on more 3rd downs. They also missed 2 field goals as well, did the Titans, and they had 2 drives over 40 yards. This Raiders game, I looked back at all the other 0-for games from the last 5 years. The only game in the last 5 years that's even close to the amount of offensive ineptity of this one is the single game in 2023 that Clayton Tune started for the Cardinals. That's the only one close as far as offensive incompetence. I feel very confident saying this is the least competent offensive game by a team since Kendall Hinton started for the Broncos when they had no quarterbacks during the COVID year. I feel confident saying that, and that is the statement I am standing on. This game was complete offensive ineptity, period.
Yeah. I think another stat you didn't mention, the Raiders in a full 60-minute football game, professional football game, ran 29 plays. The Kansas City Chiefs ran 76. Like, it's wild. So, there's nothing more that needs to be said about how bad this Raiders offense is and how bad this Raiders team is. That said, you know what I do want to say about this team or about this game? I think everything that you just said is why we need to pump the brakes on the Chiefs. Of being like, the Chiefs figured it out. The Chiefs are the favorite in the AFC. Because you know what? I think even this year's Cleveland Browns could win a game against this Raiders team. Like, with their whatever you want to call it for an offense. They could have won this game. They could have put up 31. Well, I don't know if they could have put up 31 points, but they could have absolutely held the opposing team to 0. Like, I don't know. That's my thought about this game, other than the Raiders are so bad that they should get relegated to the UFL.
Speaking of the Browns for a second, though, that Browns team in 2023 that made the playoffs with Joe Flacco was the team that offered Clayton Tune's Cardinals. The Browns could. The Browns could be the team that's terrible. They could. You are 100% right.
Yep. All right. Moving on. Team that I want to talk about that I am very, very concerned about, that they are on a downward trajectory and it keeps happening and it keeps happening fast. That is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars, we were singing their praises after they beat the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. Since doing that, they have lost to the Seahawks 20-12 at home. And they've lost to the Rams 35-7 in London. And this last week, Trevor Lawrence, 23 of 48 for 296 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He was sacked 7 times. It's really, really hard to perform well when you're sacked that many times. Rushing, the Jaguars as a team ran the ball 19 times for 94 yards. So they averaged 4.9 yards per carry. They almost averaged 5 yards per carry. I don't know. I can't put my finger on exactly, like, this is the problem with this Jacksonville team. The coaching is obviously much improved. So much so that after a loss a couple weeks ago, they still posted what Liam Cohen said after the game in the locker room, and I felt motivated by it. I felt like, okay, yeah, they've got a real football guy as the head coach of this team. Again, you could argue with this game, well, Trevor Lawrence completed less than 50% of his passes. Sure, he also had to throw the ball nearly 50 times. Like, if he was 23 of 34, well, that's what Daniel Jones was this last week, because he didn't need to throw the ball that many times, right? He didn't turn the ball over, so, like, I don't know. I can't put my finger on why this offense isn't working right now. I mean, obviously defensively, there were issues this last week. But even I take that back. Matthew Stafford only threw for 182 yards. He threw for 5 touchdowns, but he only threw for 182 yards. They only ran for 89 yards. So I'm like, I just don't understand what the There's something wrong, but the weird part is I cannot decipher. Like I can't decipher what it is that's wrong.
Yeah, I get you. Like you look at that Jacksonville game against the Rams and you look at it and you're like, okay, the Rams scored 35 and like blew the doors off of them. Was Matthew Stafford explosive in the passing game? Not really. Was the run game just running them over, just 10 yards a carry, just like running them over? No. Was the defense just getting like interceptions and forced fumbles and like massive strip sacks and plays? No. Was the third down efficiency just dreadful where the Jaguars couldn't do anything on third down? I don't believe it was. Like I can
They were 3 of 15 on third down,
like that's
and
not good, but
they were
that's not
2 of 6 on
over.
fourth. Oof. Yeah.
Two of two of six, but man, like you're just looking at that and you're like, how is it that the score is this big of a gap, but all of the other margins are much smaller? Something is clearly wrong. And the fact that they somehow lost by that big of a gap when the margins just shouldn't have been that big. I agree with you. The passing game with the Jaguars, it's weird. It's not terrible, but it's not great or highly efficient. The running game, it's like it's really good. It's not terrible. But why is it that they can't lean on that run game and be like, we're a run first team? The defense has games where they're forcing a ton of turnovers, but then you have this game where they're just bleeding all over the place.
Yeah.
It is really just unclear, I think. Just what you were saying. Very gray, I think, would this Jaguars team be.
I I did just see this, and this was something that even in the Chiefs game was an issue that they overcame. The Jaguars committed 13 penalties for 119 yards.
That'll
That
do it.
that'll do it. So, but that said, like, okay, committing 13 penalties for 119 yards, that alone should not be the reason that you lose by 4 touchdowns when the opposing offense only has 271 total yards. Like that there's more to it. I think there's some of this other just like I don't know like you said passing game is just weird. It's not necessarily bad, but like what's going
Mhm,
on there? The defense played
mhm,
okay, like
mhm.
if you're only averaging giving up, like what is it, like 70 yards a quarter, like that tends to be pretty good,
Yeah, that's right.
but I guess, they 2 of 6 on fourth down. One, you went for it on fourth down 6 times, that, which just
Mhm,
goes to show how quickly you're in desperation mode. And
mhm.
then 13 penalties for 119 yards will do it. um but I am when you look at, what the Jaguars have left this season. They're on their bye this week, which seems like
They
they
need
really
it.
really need. But then they are going to the Raiders. That should be a great get right game for them out of the bye. Going to the Texans, okay, but then they host the Chargers. They go to those pesky Cardinals. They go to the Titans. They still need to play the Colts twice and the Broncos.
Mhm,
Like, I, after they beat the Chiefs, we were talking, hey, I know that the Colts have the record that they have, but Jacksonville is definitely in a place that they can go and win this division. I don't think that they are right now. And I think there's a
mhm.
chance that by the time they get to the point that they're playing the Colts, even if they were to sweep the Colts this year, which right now seems impossible,
No,
but
yeah.
even if they were to, I think there still isn't enough time for them to catch
Mhm.
up.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be hard for them to make up some ground. Just
Yeah.
looking at some of these other stats for that Rams Jaguars game, first downs, it's really close. You have passing first downs 14 to 13. Rams had 14. Rushing first downs, Rams had 4, Jaguars had 5. It's the first downs from penalties where the Jaguars gave up 8 first downs due to penalty. The
Mm,
Rams went 2 for 10 on third down. The Jaguars went 3 for 15, same level of efficiency. But if you're going 2 for 10 on third down, but you're giving up 8 first downs from penalty, you're just going to be bleeding possessions and making the possessions long. And the
yeah.
other thing is allowing possessions to run longer, even if you're holding a team to 2 for 10 on third down, is how you get 35 dropped on your head. That's how you get crazy scores when it's like they're not passing the ball well or rushing the ball well to pick up these third downs to get the drives going. But if you just let up penalty after penalty after penalty to give them up, that's how you're going to just have the score ran up on you. And that's what happened.
Sure, sure. All right, Nick. I've got a game for you, and then I know you have a game for me, and then I've got one other game. Um, Game number one that I am intrigued by. Um, Both of these games that I picked, we have been doing where we pick a game that, like, hey, this is a team that's kind of on the rise. This will be a really interesting game for them this week. And then, oh, this is a team that, seems like they're starting to plummet. Like, is this going to be sort of the nail in the coffin, or will they get it right? Both of these games feel like they could fit in either one of these buckets, which is weird. Um, but game number one, Giants Eagles this week rematch. A very very quick turnaround for a rematch for the Eagles against their division opponent that beat them badly on Thursday night last week. The Eagles have some good mojo going into this game that they didn't necessarily have before the last time that these two teams met, but still this was a game that the Eagles looked absolutely abysmal in. Like, not even like, oh man, well, they lost. That's how it goes in the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody. Like, no, this was like the start of us being like, okay, yeah, we're concerned about this Eagles team. And considering talking about, their win against the Vikings, that, I'm looking at that glass as half empty, you're looking at it as half full, but even still, there's not a world where we can both say, no, look how full the glass is after that game, right?
Right.
If you need to decide, are you looking at it as half full or half empty?
It's still
That means
half.
they're
It's still
right.
half either way.
Exactly. I could see a world where they lose this game again,
Yeah.
and we go, man, what is happening? For the record, the Giants are also coming off an incredibly emotional loss this last week after the most insane fumble of the bag I think we've seen since the Vikings Colts game
Mm-hmm. The
from
Kirk
a
Cousins
couple of years
game.
back. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be. I don't think this game will be fun to watch. I think it's going to be like really hard to watch because of how like bad of football it might be, and how undisciplined of football. That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like turnovers, penalties, a lot of that, a lot of like, ugh, what am I even watching right now? What is this product? Um, but like, I think there's a world where the Giants win this game and
Mm-hmm.
the Eagles really are in trouble. And because of the way Philadelphia fans are, even though they just won a Super Bowl, you'll start hearing them get chirping for Nick Sirianni to get fired, for them to like, hey, maybe we should trade AJ Brown, like all that craziness that Philadelphia fans love to just like stir the pot with. I think we could see after this week, if the Giants are able to pull this off.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a quintessential double must win where the Eagles have to win this. If they lose this, like we say, what the hell is wrong? Like this is a 5 alarm fire, like the sky's falling kind of thing. You let
Mm-hmm.
the Giants ruin you in prime time once. A couple weeks later, they come in after the Giants lose devastatingly to the Broncos, allow the Broncos to score 33 in the fourth quarter, and you let that Giants team, if you let them win, you're devastated as the Eagles. But the Giants, if you come off this devastating loss and just play uninspired football when you have your vibey young players and your good feelings, if the Giants lose this and lose it dreadfully, like I think Brian Dable, like I think the nail's in the coffin. Like I think that's just that for him. After having that massive of a meltdown, I think you go from the highest peak with that win against the Eagles to a loss against them. I just think that this could be a game where it's a fork in the road. Whoever wins sends the other one into a spiral. Like I think a team will spiral from this game.
Yeah. Yeah. The loser of this team, I don't know that they're able to recover. Which is tough to hear in that. All right, Nick. You want to talk about it? It's
I
obviously the
do.
best game that's happening this week. Steelers Packers Sunday Night Football. How you feeling?
Mm-hmm. So there are just a ton of storylines here. Like I just feel like all the vibes are right for a big game. You have an Aaron Rodgers revenge game. He had a revenge game against the Jets in week 1. He played amazing, 4 touchdowns, lit up the Jets secondary in New York, destroyed the Jets. It was a close win because the Steelers defense was dreadful that week, and I think the Steelers defense could still be dreadful. But I think the Steelers coming off of a mini bye because they played on Thursday night football against the Bengals, they got that extra rest. I think this is going to be a Mike Tomlin defense that's extra motivated that you're going to see. We put terrible film on tape. We let Jamar Chase just move the ball on us and old Joe Flacco. I think you're going to see a team that's motivated. The defense is going to be working their asses off. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to prove himself. I think they're coming off a mini bye. I think it's in Pittsburgh. The vibes are going to be electric. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a really good game. And a statistic that just I think gets swept under the rug. Aaron Rodgers right now is third in touchdown passes in the league. And he has played 6 games, and the guys ahead of him have played 7 games. He is on that level of a streak of passing touchdowns this year at 42 years old.
Mm.
I don't know that that is sustainable. He has had a couple of massive games this last week against the Bengals and the first week against the Jets where they're slinging the ball. But I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to want to prove it. I think that you're going to see it through the TV. Like, I think you're going to see Aaron Rodgers is angry. Aaron Rodgers wants to prove them wrong. Aaron Rodgers is going to try and rip the hearts out of the Jets and be slinging the ball. I think you are going to feel that through the television set, and I think that's going to make for an amazing game this Sunday night.
Yeah, I think it should be a good one. I feel like obviously the Packers getting Micah Parsons was a massive big improvement for their team.
Yes.
However, in terms of what Micah has done on the field, I feel like we haven't really seen that big of an impact yet. We've seen it in that other teams need to focus so much on him. So guys like George Karlaftis and Rashawn Gary are having great moments and great years. But I feel like this is the type of game that it's like, no, Micah, we need to see you be
Mhm.
the one that's making the impact, not in your presence, but in your what are you actually doing on the field.
Mhm. Have him
Um,
be a playmaker rather than a play setter for other
right,
guys. And he had a great game
exactly.
last week. He had 3 sacks, I think, against the Cardinals. He actually had a big game this last week.
Yeah,
But this in a primetime window against Aaron Rodgers, I think, is definitely a massive stage that he needs to be a playmaker.
sure. Yep.
I'd be worried, though, the Steelers' offensive line can actually protect when they have rest against superstar edge rushers. They came out of their bye and faced Myles Garrett off of their bye and erased him from the game. He got one pressure the entire game and
Mm,
did nothing. Like, I don't believe he got a quarterback hit. I believe he got one pressure.
yeah,
Like, the Steelers' ability to scheme around stud edge rushers with rest and time to prepare, I think is very high level, and you're going to see a Steelers offensive line that should be able to erase Micah Parsons or at least limit him, which should help the Steelers' efforts a lot with an immobile quarterback, even though he showed some good mobility last week.
yeah. I think, and here's the thing: if Rodgers has 2.5 seconds, the Steelers consistently, the Steelers will do very well this game. If they cannot give him that much time, then this will not be good.
Mhm.
It'll really not be pretty. Cool. All right. Other game that I think is again, I don't know how to put this. I don't know if this is like uh-oh territory or like ooh team on the rise territory just because of the situation. And I can't even believe I'm saying this, but that's Bills Panthers. The
Yes, I
four and
like
two
this a lot.
the
Wow.
4-2 Bills play the 4-3 Panthers this week.
Mhm.
The Bills, are they coming off of their bye or
Mhm. They are.
yeah, so the Bills are coming off of their bye. They started the year 4-0. They lost back-to-back weeks, and now they are playing a Panthers team that weirdly enough is a hot Panthers team. They've
Mhm.
been winning games lately. Um, This game is in Carolina. The Panthers have won their last three games. Um, against those games being against the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the Jets. So, it's not like their wins are like, really big statement wins. Though that win against the Cowboys was incredibly impressive. But
Mm,
even still, like I feel like we're in a place where like, okay, if the Panthers win this game, then it's like okay, if Tampa Bay loses a couple more games, then Carolina all of a sudden is potentially competing for a division. And also, we're in a place where it's like, if the Bills lose this game, it's like, oh my gosh.
New England.
And with Drake May being Tom Brady 2.0, it means the Bills' window is absolutely closed and it's over for Josh Allen and Sean McDermott to win a Super Bowl. Um, which is just really, really weird. If the Bills win this game against the Panthers, and they win decisively, then it's like, okay, and everything's back in order. If they
Mm,
win it and it's close because it still is the Panthers, and because two of those three wins that I talked about were a 3-point victory against the Dolphins and a 13-6 victory against the Jets, if the Bills only barely win this game, then it's like, ooh, that's concerning. So this
mm,
game is just it's just weird because of not the storylines in the game, but the storylines coming out of the game,
mm,
regardless of what the result is.
mhm, mhm,
Um, yeah,
mhm,
it'll be interesting.
mhm. I feel like the way you're making it sound is like, I feel like we want the Bills to lose for vibes and like because it's just going to be chaotic after that if that happens. And the other stat that I'm surprised you didn't throw out there, the Panthers at home this year have played 3 games. They scored 27, 30, and 30. That offense can play at home and be explosive and like score points. And this is a Bills defense that hasn't been good this year. They
Right.
can't stop the run. And what's homeboy's name? Rico Dowdle and the Panthers have been running the ball on dudes lately.
Yeah.
Rico Dowdle said, I'm going to run it over you, Cowboys. And then he ran them over. This Bills defense, if they can't be healthy, stop this run, be a good defense in Carolina, I think you could see a massive running game in a game that just gets out of hand with the Bills versus Panthers. Like you're saying, really weird, interesting game. I love the pick by you there.
Yeah. Now, one thing to mention is Bryce Young is doubtful with an ankle injury.
Mhm,
Um, there is a chance that he plays, but
mhm,
obviously that'll make things a little different. But I don't know. I mean, vintage Red Rifle Andy Dalton could be
mhm.
crazy
Yep.
on Sunday. So yeah. So anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in and listening, and hope you all enjoy the games this week. There aren't many that seem like they're going to be enjoyable, but also it's the NFL and weird stuff happens. So it'll be a fun weekend for sure. Enjoy the games, and yeah, have a great week, everybody.